From iron to honor, a sheriff's reckoning in the Wild West. From iron to honor, a sheriff's reckoning in the Wild West. The bullet tore through Sheriff Cole Brennan's hat before he even heard the shot. He dove behind the water trough as 3 more rounds splintered the wooden post where he had been standing. The bank across the street had its doors wide open, and he could see 2 bodies lying motionless on the floor inside. His deputy, young Pete Harrison, was nowhere to be seen. Cole drew his revolver and counted the shots. 4 from the bank, meaning at least 2 shooters. The streets of Redemption Creek had emptied in seconds, families ducking into shops and saloons. He could hear a woman screaming from somewhere inside the bank. That changed everything. This was not just a robbery anymore. He fired twice at the bank's front window, shattering the glass to create chaos. Then he ran low and fast toward the alley beside the mercantile. His boots kicked up dust as another bullet whizzed past his ear. These men were good shots, probably experienced outlaws. Cole reached the alley and pressed his back against the wall, breathing hard. Through the gap between buildings, he spotted Pete lying face down in the dirt behind a barrel. Blood pooled beneath him. Cole's jaw tightened. The kid had only been wearing the deputy's badge for 3 months. He had a girl waiting for him, talked about marriage every chance he got. Now he might not make it to sunset. The woman screamed again, and Cole heard a man's rough voice shouting demands. They wanted horses and a clear path out of town, or they would start killing hostages. Cole knew that promise was empty. Men like these did not leave witnesses alive. He had seen it before, back when he rode with the Texas Rangers. Dead eyes told no tales. Cole reloaded his revolver with quick, practiced movements. His hands were steady despite the rage building in his chest. He had been sheriff of Redemption Creek for 5 years, and in all that time, no outlaw had walked away after spilling innocent blood in his town. He did not plan to break that record today. He moved through the alley, circling toward the back of the bank. The building had a rear entrance that the owner used for deliveries. If Cole could get inside without being seen, he might have a chance to end this before more people died. His boots made soft sounds on the hard-packed earth as he crept forward. The back door was unlocked. Careless. These men were confident, maybe too confident. Cole eased it open and slipped inside. The storage room was dark and cramped, filled with filing cabinets and old furniture. He could hear voices from the main room, 2 men arguing about something. A third voice, higher-pitched and terrified, belonged to the woman. Cole checked his gun one more time. 6 shots. He would need to make every single one count. Taking a deep breath, he moved toward the doorway that led to the main floor of the bank. Through the crack, he could see one of the robbers, a tall man with a black bandana covering his face. The man held a rifle pointed at 3 hostages huddled in the corner. This was it. Cole kicked the door open and fired. The outlaw spun around, but Cole's bullet caught him in the shoulder, spinning him like a top. The rifle clattered to the floor. Before the man could recover, Cole fired again, this time hitting center mass. The outlaw dropped hard. Chaos erupted. A second robber appeared from behind the counter, gun blazing. Cole dove behind a desk as bullets tore through the wood. Splinters flew everywhere. One of the hostages, an older man in a banker's suit, tried to run for the door. A bullet caught him in the leg, and he went down screaming. Cole rose up and fired 3 quick shots. The second robber jerked backward, red blooming across his chest. He staggered, tried to raise his gun, then collapsed against the wall and slid down, leaving a dark smear. But there had been 3 shooters. Where was the third? A gun barrel pressed against the back of Cole's head. Cold metal, unmistakable. A voice, calm and deadly, spoke from behind him. "Drop it, Sheriff." Nice and slow. Cole let his revolver fall to the floor. His mind raced, calculating options. The voice belonged to someone older, someone experienced. This was the leader, the one who had planned everything. "Kick it away," the voice commanded. Cole obeyed, sending his gun sliding across the floor. The hostages watched in horror, their faces pale and streaked with tears. The woman who had been screaming was silent now, her eyes locked on Cole with desperate hope. "You just killed my brothers," the man said. His voice carried no emotion, just cold statement of fact. "That is going to cost you." Cole kept his hands raised. "Your brothers made their choice when they decided to rob a bank and shoot my deputy. You are making your choice right now. Walk away, and maybe you live to see tomorrow." The man laughed, a sound like gravel scraping glass. "You think you are in a position to make deals?" "I have got the gun, Sheriff. That means I make the rules." "Rules change," Cole said quietly. He heard the hammer cock back. This was the moment. Live or die, it came down to the next few seconds. Cole had faced death before, more times than he could count. Each time he had found a way through. He would find one now. Any last words? The outlaw asked. Yeah, Cole said. Duck. The confusion in the man's voice was brief. What? The front window exploded inward as Pete Harrison came through it, gun in both hands despite the blood covering his shirt. He fired twice, and Cole heard the outlaw grunt in pain. Cole spun, grabbing the man's gun arm and forcing it upward. Another shot fired into the ceiling. They struggled, 2 men locked in mortal combat. Cole brought his knee up hard into the outlaw's stomach. Air rushed out of the man's lungs. Cole twisted the gun free and slammed his elbow into the man's face. Bone crunched. The outlaw staggered back, blood pouring from his broken nose. Pete advanced, his own gun steady despite his wounds. It is over, he said, his voice weak but determined. Surrender or die. The outlaw looked between them, seeing no way out. His hand moved toward a hidden knife. Cole did not hesitate. He picked up his revolver from the floor and fired. The bullet took the outlaw in the chest, right over the heart. The man's eyes widened in shock, then went blank. He fell forward and did not move again. Silence filled the bank, broken only by the sound of Pete collapsing to his knees. Cole rushed to his deputy's side, catching him before he could fall. Blood soaked through Pete's shirt from a wound in his side. Hold on, Cole said, his voice urgent. Doc Murphy will fix you up. You are going to be fine. Pete managed a weak smile. Did we get them all? Yeah, kid. We got them all. Good. Pete's eyes started to close. Stay with me, Cole commanded, pressing his hand against the wound to slow the bleeding. Somebody get the doctor, he shouted to the hostages. The banker's wife, a sturdy woman named Helen Kent, ran for the door. The other hostages slowly emerged from their hiding places, shaken but alive. Cole kept pressure on Pete's wound, watching his deputy's face for signs of fading. Minutes felt like hours before Doc Murphy burst through the door, his medical bag in hand. The old physician took one look at Pete and went to work immediately, his experienced hands moving with quick precision. He will make it, the doctor said after a tense examination. Lost blood, but the bullet went clean through. Get him to my office. 2 men carefully lifted Pete and carried him out. Cole stood, his hands covered in blood, and looked at the 3 dead outlaws sprawled across the bank floor. The cost of violence always paid in blood. He had seen it too many times, but it never got easier. Helen Kent approached him, tears streaming down her face. You saved us, Sheriff. Those men would have killed us all. Cole nodded but did not speak. There were no words that felt right. He had done what needed to be done, nothing more. The bodies would need to be removed, the bank cleaned, and reports filed. The weight of duty never lifted. As he walked out into the afternoon sun, Cole saw the townspeople gathering, their faces a mix of relief and horror. Redemption Creek would talk about this day for years to come. 3 outlaws dead, a deputy wounded, innocent lives saved by inches. But Cole Brennan was already thinking about the next threat, the next challenge. Because in the Wild West, peace was always temporary, and a sheriff's work was never truly done. He reloaded his revolver with fresh cartridges and headed toward the doctor's office, ready for whatever came next. The sun beat down on Redemption Creek as Cole Brennan sat on the bench outside Doc Murphy's office. His shirt was stiff with dried blood, and his hands still trembled slightly from the adrenaline crash. Inside, Pete Harrison was being stitched up, the young deputy's moans of pain filtering through the thin walls. Cole had heard those sounds before too many times. They never got easier to bear. Mayor Henry Douglas came hurrying down the street, his round face flushed and sweating. The man was built like a barrel and moved about as gracefully, his expensive suit straining at the buttons. He had been elected on promises of progress and prosperity, but days like this reminded everyone that civilization was still a fragile thing in these parts. Sheriff Brennan, Douglas panted, coming to a stop in front of the bench. I heard what happened at the bank. 3 men dead, is that right? Cole nodded but did not stand. His legs felt like lead, and he was not in the mood for politics. 3 outlaws who chose to rob our bank and shoot my deputy. They got what they earned. Douglas wiped his forehead with a handkerchief. The territorial governor is going to want a full report. This kind of violence, it scares away investors. People looking to settle down and start businesses, they hear about gunfights in the streets and they go somewhere safer. Maybe they should, Cole said flatly. This is not a safe place, Mayor. Never has been. Any man who thinks different is a fool. The mayor's face reddened. Now see here, Sheriff. My job is to build this town into something respectable. Your job is to keep the peace without turning Main Street into a shooting gallery. Cole finally looked up at him, his eyes hard. My job is to protect the people who live here. I did that today. If you have got a problem with my methods, you can find yourself a new sheriff." The words hung in the air between them. Douglas opened his mouth, closed it, then tried again. "I did not mean to suggest. Look, Cole, I know you did what you had to do. I'm just saying we need to think about the bigger picture here. Reputation matters." "So does staying alive," Cole replied. He stood up, his joints protesting. "Those men in there, the hostages, they are alive because I put those outlaws down. That is the only reputation that matters to me." Before Douglas could respond, Doc Murphy emerged from his office, wiping his hands on a blood-stained cloth. The old physician looked tired, deep lines etched around his eyes. He had been patching up gunshot wounds for 30 years, and it showed in the weariness of his expression. "Pete is stable," Murphy announced. "Bullet passed through clean, missed the vital organs. He will be laid up for a few weeks, but he will recover fully if infection does not set in. I have got him on laudanum for the pain now, so he is sleeping." Relief washed over Cole like cool water. "Can I see him? Give him an hour? Let the medicine do its work." Murphy glanced at the mayor, then back to Cole. "You look like hell, Sheriff. When is the last time you ate something?" Cole had to think about it. Breakfast felt like a lifetime ago. This morning, I guess. "Go get some food and clean yourself up. Pete is not going anywhere, and he will want to see you looking like his sheriff, not like something the cat dragged in." The words made sense, but Cole hesitated. Walking away felt wrong, like abandoning his post. Murphy must have seen it in his face because he shook his head firmly. "That is an order from your doctor, not a suggestion. You are no good to anyone if you collapse from exhaustion. Go on now." Cole relented, knowing the old man was right. He nodded to both Murphy and Douglas, then started walking toward the Silver Dollar Saloon. The town's main watering hole was not fancy, but they served decent food, and the owner, a former cavalry scout named Jack Porter, knew when to talk and when to keep quiet. The afternoon sun was brutal, heat radiating off the dirt street in visible waves. Cole's boots kicked up small clouds of dust with each step. People watched him pass, some nodding in respect, others quickly looking away. News of the bank shooting had spread fast. By nightfall, the whole territory would know what happened in Redemption Creek. Inside the Silver Dollar, it was cooler and darker. The smell of whiskey and tobacco mixed with cooking meat from the kitchen. A few regulars sat at the bar, nursing drinks and speaking in low voices. They fell silent when Cole entered, all eyes turning to him. Jack Porter stood behind the bar. A tall man with graying hair and a scar across his jaw from a Comanche arrow 20 years back. He poured a whiskey without being asked and slid it across the polished wood. "Heard you had a rough afternoon?" Jack said simply. Cole downed the whiskey in one swallow, feeling it burn all the way down. "Rough does not quite cover it. 3 dead outlaws, Pete shot, and the mayor worried about what investors will think." Jack refilled the glass. "Douglas is a politician. They think different than regular folks. But the people in this town, they know what you did today. You saved lives, Cole. That counts for something. Tell that to Pete's girl when she sees him all bandaged up. Pete is alive to get bandaged up. Could have been worse." Jack leaned on the bar, his voice dropping lower. "You recognize any of those outlaws?" Cole shook his head. "Never seen them before." "Why?" "Because word around town is they were asking questions yesterday. Wanted to know about the bank's schedule, when the weekly deposit from the mining company comes in. Someone talked to them, gave them information. That got Cole's attention." His hand tightened around the whiskey glass. "You know who?" "Not for certain. But Danny Fletcher was seen talking to strangers yesterday afternoon. He left town this morning on the early stage, heading east." Danny Fletcher. The name burned in Cole's mind. A drifter who had been in Redemption Creek for about 2 months, doing odd jobs and drinking too much. Cole had never trusted him, something about the way he watched people, always calculating. If Fletcher had set up the bank job and then run, that made him an accomplice to everything that happened. "How reliable is your information?" Cole asked. "Pretty solid. My bartenders saw them talking behind the livery stable." Fletcher was drawing something in the dirt. Looked like he was showing them a layout of the town. Cole set down the glass with deliberate care. "Which direction did the stage go?" "East towards Silverton." "But Cole, that is 3 days' hard ride. By the time you get there, he could be anywhere." "Then I better get started." Cole turned toward the door. Jack called after him. "What about Pete? What about the town?" Cole paused, his hand on the door frame. The weight of responsibility pressed down on his shoulders like a physical thing. Pete needed him here. The town needed a sheriff. But if Fletcher got away clean, if he lived to set up another robbery in another town, more people would die. The choice was impossible, but it had to be made. "Tell the town council I will be back in a week," Cole said. "They can deputize someone temporary to keep the peace, but I am going after Fletcher." He walked out before Jack could argue. The sun seemed even hotter now, anger adding to the heat in his veins. Cole headed for his small house at the edge of town, a simple 2-room structure that served his needs. Inside, he stripped off his bloody shirt and washed at the basin, scrubbing away the dried blood and gunpowder residue. His badge caught the light as he set it on the dresser. The 5-pointed star was tarnished and dented from years of wear. Cole had been wearing it since he was 25 years old, first as a deputy in Fort Worth, then as a Texas Ranger, and finally as sheriff here in Redemption Creek. The medal had absorbed his sweat, his blood, his dedication to the law. Looking at it now, he wondered if it was worth the cost. A knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. Cole grabbed his spare shirt and pulled it on before answering. Standing on his doorstep was Linda Hayes, Pete's girl. She was 19 years old with blonde hair and blue eyes that were currently red from crying. Her hands twisted, a handkerchief into knots. "Sheriff Brennan," she said, her voice breaking, "I need to know. Is Pete going to be okay?" Cole's expression softened. This girl loved his deputy with the kind of pure devotion that was rare and precious. Pete had shown Cole the engagement ring he was saving up for, a simple band with a tiny diamond that cost 3 months' wages. The kid planned to propose at the town's 4th of July celebration next month. "Doc Murphy says he will make a full recovery," Cole told her gently. "The bullet went clean through, and Pete is strong. He will be back on his feet before you know it." Linda's shoulders sagged with relief. Tears spilled down her cheeks. "Can I see him? Give him another hour or so to rest. The doc gave him something for the pain, and he needs to sleep it off." She nodded, wiping her eyes. "Thank you, Sheriff, for saving him. For saving everyone. Pete saved me as much as I saved him," Cole said honestly. "That kid came through a window with a bullet in him and still got his shots off. He is going to make a fine lawman. He talks about you all the time. Says you are the best sheriff in the territory, maybe in the whole West. He wants to be just like you." The words hit Cole harder than he expected, Pete looking up to him, wanting to follow in his footsteps. It was an honor and a burden all at once. Because Cole knew the truth that the young deputy had not learned yet. Being a lawman meant watching people die, making impossible choices, and carrying guilt that never fully went away. "Tell Pete I will check on him before I leave town," Cole said. Linda's eyes widened. "You are leaving? But what about one of the men who set up the robbery got away?" "I am going after him." Cole's voice was firm, allowing no argument. "The town will be safe. I am making arrangements." She wanted to protest. He could see it in her face. But something in his expression must have told her it would be pointless. She nodded reluctantly and turned to go, then paused. "Bring yourself back safe too, Sheriff," she said quietly. "This town needs you." After she left, Cole finished dressing and packed his saddlebags with supplies. Extra ammunition, dried beef, hardtack, and a bedroll. His Winchester rifle was cleaned and loaded, his Colt revolver freshly oiled. He moved with the efficiency of long practice, each item checked and double-checked. The sun was starting to dip toward the horizon when Cole led his horse, a sturdy roan gelding named Copper, from the stable. The animal snorted and stamped, sensing the journey ahead. Cole patted his neck, speaking low and calm. "Long ride, boy. You up for it?" Copper tossed his head as if offended by the question. The horse had carried Cole through dust storms, blizzards, and running gunfights. A 3-day ride would be nothing. Cole mounted up and guided Copper toward Doc Murphy's office one last time. Inside, he found Pete awake and looking pale but alert. The young deputy tried to sit up when Cole entered, but Murphy pushed him back down with a gentle but firm hand. "Stay put, you damned fool," the doctor muttered. "You want to tear those stitches open?" "Sheriff," Pete said, ignoring Murphy. "I heard you got all 3 of them. Is it true?"
"It is true."
"How are you feeling?" "Like I got shot, sir. But I will live, Doc says." Pete's eyes focused with sudden intensity. "I saw them kill that teller, Mr. Patterson. Shot him down for no reason, just because he was too slow opening the safe. Those were evil men, Sheriff. Pure evil." Cole nodded. He had seen the teller's body, an older man with grandchildren who came to visit every Sunday. Another life cut short by greed and violence. The weight of it added to the load he already carried. "You did good today, Pete. Came through that window when I needed you most. Saved my life."
The young deputy flushed with pride.
"Just doing my job, sir." "Well, you did it better than most veterans I have known. Now you rest up and heal. The town is going to need you." Pete's face clouded with confusion. Need me? Where will you be? Going after the man who set this up. Danny Fletcher gave those outlaws information about the bank. He ran this morning, and I aim to bring him back to face justice. Then I am coming with you, Pete said, trying again to sit up. This time Murphy physically held him down. You are not going anywhere except back to sleep, the doctor said sternly. Sheriff, tell this idiot he is in no condition to ride. Doc is right, Pete. You need to heal. Besides, I need you here. The council will appoint a temporary sheriff, probably Hank Morris from the general store. You advise him, help him keep things steady until I get back. Pete did not like it, but he recognized an order when he heard one. Yes, sir. But you watch your back out there. If Fletcher was working with those outlaws, he might have more friends waiting. I will be careful. Cole headed for the door, then stopped. Linda is outside waiting to see you. Doc, let her in when you think he is ready. Murphy grunted acknowledgement. Cole walked out into the fading daylight, mounted Copper, and turned the horse east. The road to Silverton stretched ahead, empty and dusty in the evening light. Somewhere out there, Danny Fletcher was running, probably thinking he had gotten away clean, but Cole Brennan was coming. And when a man wore the sheriff's badge, when he swore an oath to uphold the law, running only delayed the inevitable. Fletcher would answer for his crimes. The outlaws he helped might be dead, but their accomplice would face justice. Cole touched his heels to Copper's flanks, and the horse moved into an easy lope. Behind them, Redemption Creek faded into the distance. Ahead lay hundreds of miles of hard country, dangerous men, and uncertain justice. But that was the life Cole had chosen, the burden he carried willingly. The iron badge on his chest caught the last rays of sunlight gleaming like a promise made and kept. 3 days on the trail left Cole covered in dust and grime. Copper had performed admirably, but even the sturdy gelding was showing signs of fatigue. They had pushed hard, stopping only when absolutely necessary for rest and water. Cole's body ached from long hours in the saddle, but his mind remained sharp, focused on the hunt. Silverton was bigger than Redemption Creek, a mining town that had grown fat on silver strikes in the nearby mountains. The main street bustled with activity even as evening approached. Miners fresh from their shifts crowded into saloons. Merchants hawked their wares from storefronts, and painted women called from second-story windows. The smell of coal smoke, sweat, and money hung thick in the air. Cole guided Copper to the nearest livery stable, a large operation run by a Chinese man named Wong Li. The stable owner took one look at the exhausted horse and began clicking his tongue in disapproval. This animal needs rest, Li said, in accented but perfect English. You ride him hard, very hard. 3 days minimum before he should carry Ryder again. I know, Cole admitted, feeling a pang of guilt. Copper had given everything asked of him and more. Take good care of him. Best feed you have got, and check his hooves. I will be in town a while. Lee nodded and led the horse away, speaking to Copper in soothing Chinese that the animal seemed to understand. Cole shouldered his saddlebags and rifle, then headed into town proper. The first order of business was finding the local law. The sheriff's office sat between a hardware store and a barber shop, a modest building with barred windows and a heavy door. Cole pushed inside and found a man behind the desk, middle-aged with gray streaking his dark hair and a thick mustache. His badge read Sheriff Frank Carson. Carson looked up from his paperwork, taking in Cole's dusty appearance and the badge on his chest. Help you, Sheriff? Cole Brennan, Redemption Creek. I am tracking a man named Danny Fletcher. He was involved in a bank robbery that left 3 men dead and my deputy shot. Fletcher provided information to the outlaws, then fled town on the eastbound stage. That was 3 days ago. Carson leaned back in his chair, his expression turning serious. Bank robbery and murder. That is heavy business. You got a description of this Fletcher? Medium height, brown hair, late 20s. Has a scar on his left hand from a knife wound. Talks with a slight limp in his speech, like he is drunk even when he is sober. Carson stood and walked to a filing cabinet, rifling through papers. Stage comes through here every other day. 3 days ago would have been, we had one arrive. Let me check the passenger manifest. He pulled out a ledger and ran his finger down the columns. Cole watched, tension building in his chest. If Fletcher had changed directions, taken a different route, this could all be a dead end. But Carson's finger stopped on an entry and his eyes narrowed. Daniel Fletcher, traveling alone, paid for passage to Silverton and checked into the Silver King Hotel. That is 2 blocks north, biggest building in town. You cannot miss it. Cole felt his pulse quicken. The trail was not cold after all. Is he still registered there? Only one way to find out. Carson grabbed his own gun belt off a hook. "If this man is as dangerous as you say, you might need backup." They walked together through the crowded streets, two lawmen on a mission. People stepped aside, recognizing authority when they saw it. The Silver King Hotel was indeed impossible to miss, a 3-story structure with ornate woodwork and expensive glass windows. A doorman in a fancy uniform stood at the entrance, looking uncomfortable as the two sheriffs approached. Inside, the lobby was all polished wood and brass fixtures. A clerk behind the desk, a thin man with spectacles, straightened nervously as the lawmen approached. "Daniel Fletcher," Cole said without preamble. "Which room?" The clerk's eyes darted between them. "Room 207. But I do not think he is in right now. He left this morning and has not returned." "Give me the key," Carson ordered. The clerk hesitated only a second before complying, pulling a key from the board behind him. They took the stairs 2 at a time, boots thundering on the wood. Room 27 was at the end of the hallway, door closed, and no sound coming from within. Carson knocked hard. "Sheriff Carson, Silverton." "Open up." Silence. Cole felt his hand drift toward his gun. Something was wrong. The air felt heavy, charged with the electric sense of danger that he had learned to trust over the years. Carson tried the key and the lock clicked open. He pushed the door wide, and both men drew their weapons. The room was empty, but it had been recently occupied. A bed sat unmade, clothes were scattered across a chair, and a half-empty bottle of whiskey stood on the nightstand. "Search it," Carson said. They moved efficiently, checking drawers, under the bed, inside the wardrobe. Cole found what he was looking for in the bottom of Fletcher's travel bag. A thick envelope stuffed with cash, more money than a drifter doing odd jobs should have. He counted it quickly. $200, probably Fletcher's cut of whatever the outlaws had stolen before hitting Redemption Creek. "Blood money," Cole said quietly, showing Carson.
The other sheriff's face hardened. "Seems your information was good."
"This Fletcher is dirty as they come." A sound from the hallway made both men freeze. Footsteps approaching, unsteady and slow. The door was still open, and through it walked Danny Fletcher himself, slightly drunk and completely unprepared for what awaited him. Fletcher saw the two sheriffs and went pale. His hand moved toward the gun at his hip, but Carson's voice stopped him cold. "Don't even think about it, boy. You are already in enough trouble." Fletcher's hand froze, then slowly moved away from his weapon. His eyes fixed on Cole, and recognition dawned. "Sheriff Brennan, I did not do nothing wrong." "You helped 3 men rob a bank," Cole said, his voice hard as iron. "Those men killed an innocent teller and shot my deputy. You are an accessory to murder, Fletcher." "That is a hanging offense. I did not know they were going to kill anyone." Fletcher's voice rose, panic setting in. "They just wanted information about the bank's schedule. Said they were planning a robbery in another town and wanted to know how banks operated. I thought I was just answering questions for a bottle of whiskey." "You are a liar," Cole said flatly. "And a coward. You ran the moment the shooting started. If you were innocent, you would have stayed." Fletcher's shoulders sagged. The fight went out of him like air from a punctured bladder. "What are you going to do?" "Take you back to Redemption Creek to stand trial," Cole said. "And if the jury finds you guilty, which they will, you will hang." Carson stepped forward and pulled Fletcher's gun from its holster, then produced a set of iron shackles. The click of metal on Fletcher's wrists seemed to seal his fate. The drifter who thought he could make easy money by betraying his temporary home now faced the ultimate price. "I got a cell here that will hold him for the night," Carson offered. "You look like you could use a meal and a bed yourself. Start fresh in the morning." Cole nodded, grateful for the offer. His body was screaming for rest, and the thought of starting back immediately felt like torture. "Appreciate it." They marched Fletcher down the stairs and through the lobby. The clerk watched with wide eyes, and whispers followed them out into the street. By morning, everyone in Silverton would know that a murderer had been staying at the Silver King Hotel. Carson's jail was small but secure, with 2 cells built from thick iron bars. Fletcher went into one without resistance, all the fight gone from him. He sat on the narrow bunk and put his head in his hands. "I swear I did not know," he mumbled. "I swear it." "Save it for the judge," Cole replied coldly. Carson locked the cell and turned to Cole. "There is a boarding house 2 streets over, run by a widow named Mrs. Patterson. Clean rooms, good food. Tell her I sent you. Thanks for your help, Sheriff. Just doing my job, same as you." Carson offered his hand, and Cole shook it firmly. "Long ride back to Redemption Creek." You sure you do not want me to send a deputy with you? Prisoner transport can be dangerous. I will manage. Done it before. Cole found Mrs. Patterson's boarding house exactly where Carson said it would be. The widow was a kindly woman in her 50s who took one look at his dusty, exhausted state and immediately offered him her best room and a hot bath. Cole accepted both gratefully. The bathwater turned black with trail dirt, and Cole soaked until his muscles began to unknot. His mind wandered to Pete, wondering how the young deputy was healing. And to Redemption Creek, hoping the temporary sheriff situation was working out, and to Fletcher, sitting in that cell, awaiting a justice that would likely end with a rope around his neck. Cole had never enjoyed bringing men to hang. Taking a life in a gunfight was one thing, a matter of survival and split-second decisions. But bringing a man in knowing he would face execution, watching him wait for death, that was different. It required a hardness that Cole sometimes questioned if he truly possessed. But the law was the law. Fletcher's actions had led to deaths, to pain and suffering. Justice demanded payment. Cole's personal feelings did not matter. He was the instrument of that justice. Nothing more and nothing less. After the bath, he dressed in clean clothes from his saddlebag and went downstairs for dinner. Mrs. Patterson served him roast beef, potatoes, and fresh bread with butter. It was the best meal he had eaten in days, and he devoured it while the widow chatted about town gossip and the weather. "You are the sheriff who caught that murderer, aren't you?" she asked, refilling his coffee cup. Word spread even faster than Cole thought. "Yes, ma'am. Taking him back to stand trial." "Well, I hope they hang him proper," she said with surprising venom. "My nephew works at that bank in your town. Said those outlaws were animals, killed poor Mr. Patterson for no reason at all." Cole's head snapped up. "Your nephew?" "Yes, young Billy Morrison. He is a clerk there. Wasn't hurt, thank the Lord, but he saw everything. Still has nightmares about it. Small world." Cole knew Billy, a quiet kid who always seemed nervous around the sheriff. "He's a good worker? Tell him Sheriff Brennan said to take some time off if he needs it. Seeing something like that, it stays with you." Patterson's expression softened. "That is kind of you. Billy spoke highly of you and your deputy, said you were both very brave." After dinner, Cole retreated to his room and collapsed onto the bed. Sleep came quickly, deep and dreamless. For a few hours, the burden of the badge lifted, and he was just a tired man resting his worn body. Morning came too soon. Cole woke before dawn, dressed, and headed back to Carson's office. The other sheriff was already there, looking like he had not slept much. "Coffee?" Carson offered, holding up a pot. "Please." They drank in comfortable silence for a few minutes before Carson spoke. "Fletcher was crying most of the night. Kept saying he did not mean for anyone to die. I almost felt sorry for him." "Almost? Then I remembered what you told me." "A man dead, your deputy shot. Actions have consequences, whether you mean them or not." Cole nodded. That was the truth of it, plain and simple. Fletcher had made his choices. Now he would live or die with the results. After breakfast, Cole retrieved Copper from the livery. The horse slept much better after 3 days of rest and good feed. Lee had done excellent work, and Cole paid him extra for it. "This animal is strong," Lee said, patting Copper's neck. "Take care of him and he will take care of you." "I know. Thanks for everything." With Copper ready and Fletcher shackled and mounted on a rented horse, they prepared to depart. Carson came to see them off, bringing extra supplies for the journey. "Long ride," the Silverton sheriff said.
"Watch yourself. Word of the arrest might have spread."
"Could be friends of those dead outlaws out there looking for revenge. I will keep my eyes open," Cole promised. They left Silverton as the sun crested the eastern mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold. Fletcher rode ahead of Cole, hands shackled to the saddle horn, a rope connecting his horse to Copper. The drifter had stopped protesting his innocence and now rode in sullen silence. The trail back would take them through some of the hardest country in the territory. Desert, mountains, and long stretches with no settlements at all. Just Cole, Fletcher, 2 horses, and whatever dangers the land chose to throw at them. Cole checked his weapons one more time, making sure everything was in order. The Winchester was loaded and secure in its scabbard, his Colt revolver sat ready on his hip, and a knife rode in his boot. He was as prepared as he could be. Whatever came next, he would face it the same way he faced everything else. With courage, determination, and the unshakable belief that justice mattered, even in a lawless land. The desert stretched endlessly in all directions, a brutal expanse of sun-baked earth and scattered scrub. Cole kept them moving at a steady pace, conserving the horse's strength while making decent time. Fletcher had stopped talking completely, just staring ahead with dead eyes. The reality of his situation seemed to have finally settled in his mind. By midday, the heat was punishing. Waves of shimmer rose from the ground, distorting the horizon into impossible shapes. Cole called a halt near a rocky outcrop that provided some shade. He helped Fletcher dismount, the shackles making it awkward, and let both horses drink from his canteen. "You should let me go," Fletcher said suddenly, breaking hours of silence. His voice was hoarse from breathing hot, dry air. "Just say I escaped. No one would blame you." Cole did not even look at him. "Not happening. I got money, $200, you saw it. It is yours if you just ride away." Now Cole did look at him, and the coldness in his eyes made Fletcher take a step back. "You think I can be bought? You think I would throw away my oath, my honor, for blood money?" "Everyone has a price," Fletcher said desperately. "Just name it, whatever you want." Cole stood, his patience finally exhausted. He grabbed Fletcher by the front of his shirt and slammed him against the rock wall. The shackles rattled as Fletcher's hands came up defensively. "Listen to me very carefully," Cole said, his voice low and dangerous. "I have been wearing this badge for 15 years. I have been shot, stabbed, and left for dead more times than I can count. I have buried friends, watched good men die, and carried guilt that would crush most people. But I have never, not once, betrayed the oath I took. You understand me?" "Never." Fletcher's face had gone white. He nodded frantically. Cole released him and stepped back, breathing hard. The rage had come out of nowhere, surprising even himself. But it was born of exhaustion, frustration, and the weight of everything that had happened. Pete's blood on his hands, the dead teller, 3 corpses in the street, and now this pathetic coward trying to buy his way out of justice. "We ride in 10 minutes, Cole said curtly. "Drink water and relieve yourself if you need to." They mounted up again and continued east. The sun tracked across the sky, relentless and pitiless. Cole's shirt was soaked with sweat, and his throat felt like sandpaper despite regular drinks from his canteen. This was the kind of heat that could kill, the kind that turned men into shriveled husks if they were not careful. Late in the afternoon, Cole spotted something on the horizon. Riders, 3 of them, moving parallel to their course about a mile off. His hand drifted to his rifle. "We got company," he said quietly. Fletcher twisted in his saddle, squinting against the glare. "Who are they?" "Don't know yet. Could be anyone. Or they could be friends of those 3 I killed." The riders maintained their distance but did not veer away. They were clearly tracking Cole and Fletcher, staying just close enough to monitor but not engage. It made the hair on the back of Cole's neck stand up. Innocent travelers would either approach to share information or give a wide berth. These men were doing neither. As the sun began to sink toward the western horizon, the riders finally made their move. They cut across the desert at an angle that would intercept Cole's path within the hour. Cole immediately changed course, heading for a cluster of large rocks that offered defensive positions. "What are you doing?" Fletcher asked, fear creeping into his voice. "Preparing for trouble. When we get to those rocks, you stay low and keep quiet. If shooting starts, you hit the dirt and stay there. Understand? Maybe they just want to talk. Men who just want to talk don't track you for miles in the desert." Cole urged Copper into a faster trot, and the rented horse carrying Fletcher followed on its lead rope. They reached the rocks with 20 minutes to spare. Cole dismounted and pulled Fletcher down roughly, then led both horses behind the largest boulder where they would have some protection. He tied the animals securely and took up a position with good sightlines in all directions. The riders approached boldly, making no attempt at stealth. As they drew closer, Cole could make out details. 3 men, heavily armed, rough-looking types who lived hard lives in hard country. The kind of men who supplemented income with robbery and intimidation. They stopped about 50 yards out, just beyond easy pistol range. The one in the middle, a big man with a thick black beard, called out, "Sheriff Brennan, we need to talk." Cole kept his Winchester trained on the speaker. Talk from there. "We want the man you got with you, Fletcher. He owes us money." "He owes you a lot more than money if you are who I think you are," Cole replied. "Brothers of the 3 I killed?" The bearded man spat into the dirt. "Cousins. Those were good men you murdered. Good men don't rob banks and shoot unarmed tellers. They got what they earned. They got betrayed by that yellow snake you got shackled up." The bearded man pointed at Fletcher. "He was supposed to be inside the bank helping them. Instead, he ran like the coward he is. We want him. We will make his death nice and slow." Fletcher made a whimpering sound behind Cole. The sheriff did not turn around, keeping his eyes on the 3 riders. "Fletcher is going back to Redemption Creek to stand trial," Cole said firmly. That is the law. You boys want to dispute it, you are welcome to try. The three men exchanged glances. The one on the left, younger and nervous-looking, spoke up. 3 against 1, Sheriff. Those odds do not favor you. Maybe not, but I guarantee at least 2 of you will be dead before this is over. Question is, which 2? Cole's voice was calm, almost conversational. You boys willing to roll those dice? A long silence followed. Cole could see them thinking, weighing their chances. The bearded leader was clearly the decision-maker, and his face showed the internal struggle. Revenge versus survival, anger versus common sense. Finally, the leader shook his head. This is not over, Brennan. We will be seeing you again. Looking forward to it, Cole replied evenly. The 3 riders turned and headed back the way they came, disappearing into the gathering dusk. Cole watched them go, not lowering his rifle until they were completely out of sight. Even then he remained tense, scanning the desert for signs of a trick. Are they really gone? Fletcher asked in a small voice. For now, but they will follow us, wait for a better opportunity. We need to move fast and stay alert. Cole grabbed Fletcher and hauled him to his feet. Mount up. We are riding through the night. Through the night?
But the horses.
The horses will manage. We don't have a choice. Those men want you dead, and they will kill me to get to you. I am not giving them the chance. They rode through the darkness, guided by starlight and the pale glow of a half-moon. Cole pushed them hard, stopping only when absolutely necessary. Every sound made him tense, every shadow a potential threat. The desert at night was a different world, full of strange noises and hidden dangers. Fletcher began to sag in his saddle, exhaustion taking its toll. Cole had to rope him upright to keep him from falling. The man was soft, not used to this kind of hardship. But Cole could not afford to slow down, not with 3 armed men hunting them. Near dawn, they finally stopped at a small stream trickling between rocks. The horses drank gratefully while Cole refilled canteens and chewed on jerky that tasted like old leather. Fletcher collapsed on the ground and immediately fell asleep, snoring loudly despite his shackles. Cole remained awake, rifle across his knees, watching the horizon. The sun rose slowly, revealing a landscape of red rocks and twisted juniper trees. Beautiful in its harsh way, but deadly to those who did not respect it. He thought about Pete, probably up and moving around by now if he was healing well, and about Redemption Creek, hoping the town was managing without him. And about the 3 riders somewhere out there, waiting. This was the reality of being a lawman in the West. The job never ended, the danger never stopped. Every day was a test of will, courage, and determination. Cole had passed countless tests over the years, but each new one felt harder than the last. Wake up, he said, nudging Fletcher with his boot. We got a long way to go, and we are burning daylight. Fletcher groaned and struggled to his feet, his face creased with exhaustion and fear. They mounted up and continued east, 2 men on a desperate journey through unforgiving land, hunted by those who wanted blood. But Cole Brennan was not a man who gave up easily. He had made a promise to bring Fletcher to justice, and he would keep that promise or die trying. The badge on his chest demanded nothing less. The town of Red Canyon appeared like a mirage in the afternoon heat, a small cluster of buildings huddled around a spring that gave the settlement its reason to exist. Cole's relief at seeing civilization was tempered by caution. This was rough country, and Red Canyon had a reputation as a place where questions were not asked and strangers were not always welcome. They rode down the main street, attracting stares from the locals. A few miners, some cowboys, and several hard-looking men who might have been prospectors or might have been outlaws. Cole kept his hand near his gun and his eyes moving, reading the crowd for threats. The marshal's office was a small adobe building that looked like it might collapse in a strong wind. Cole dismounted and tied Copper to the hitching rail, then helped Fletcher down. A deputy sat on the porch, a young man with red hair and a nervous disposition. "Help you?" the deputy asked, standing. "Sheriff Brennan, Redemption Creek. I am transporting a prisoner and need to rest the horses. We will be gone by morning." The deputy's eyes flicked to Fletcher's shackles. "What is he wanted for?" "Accessory to bank robbery and murder." "Is your marshal around?" "Out on patrol." "Won't be back until tonight." The deputy seemed uncertain, like he was not used to making decisions. "I guess it is okay if you want to use one of our cells for the night." Cole nodded his thanks and led Fletcher inside. The jail was sparse but functional, with 2 cells and a desk covered in paperwork. Fletcher went into a cell without protest, clearly grateful to be off the horse and behind bars that might protect him from the vengeful cousins. After securing the prisoner, Cole took the horses to the livery and paid for feed and water. The stable owner, an old-timer with a limp and tobacco-stained teeth, eyed him curiously. "You are the one who killed those 3 bank robbers up in Redemption Creek," the old man said. It was not a question. News travels fast. Always does in these parts. Word is their cousins are tracking you, planning revenge. Cole felt his jaw tighten. Word is accurate. Seen 3 men come through here in the last day or 2? Heavily armed, mean-looking? The stable owner nodded slowly. Yeah. They rode through yesterday, asked about anyone heading east with a prisoner. I told them I had not seen anyone matching that description. Why would you do that? Because those 3 are bad news. Luke Hartman and his boys. They have robbed stages, killed travelers, and generally made trouble up and down the territory. Law's been trying to catch them for years. The old man spat tobacco juice into the dirt. Figure anyone they are hunting is probably on the right side of things. Cole felt a surge of gratitude for this stranger's help. I appreciate that. When they realize I am here, they will come back. Probably. You planning to be here when they do? No. Leaving before dawn tomorrow. But if they show up before then, I would be obliged if you kept quiet about seeing me. The old man grinned, showing gaps in his teeth. My memory is not what it used to be. Might forget all about you. Cole left the livery and walked the town, getting a feel for the layout and identifying potential defensive positions. Red Canyon was built in a narrow valley between 2 steep hills, which meant limited escape routes but also natural barriers. The spring that gave the town life bubbled up in the center of a small plaza, surrounded by a low stone wall. He bought supplies at the general store, stocking up on ammunition and food for the rest of the journey. The storekeeper, a thin woman with suspicious eyes, took his money without conversation. Cole got the sense that strangers were tolerated but not welcomed in Red Canyon. As evening fell, Cole returned to the marshal's office. The deputy had lit lanterns, casting flickering shadows across the room. Fletcher sat in his cell, eating bread and cheese that the deputy had provided. Marshal Kellerman got back, the deputy said, gesturing to the back room. He wants to talk to you. Cole found the marshal in a small office, a man in his 50s with gray hair and tired eyes. He looked up from a bottle of whiskey and 2 glasses. Sheriff Brennan. Have a seat. Drink? Cole sat and accepted the offered glass. The whiskey was cheap but strong, burning pleasantly on the way down. Kellerman refilled both glasses before speaking. My deputy says you are transporting a murder suspect. That true? Accessory to murder? He gave information to 3 outlaws who robbed a bank and killed innocent people. Kellerman nodded slowly. And now their cousins are hunting you. I heard about that too. Luke Hartman and his boys. They are dangerous, Brennan. Real dangerous. I have dealt with dangerous men before. I'm sure you have. But this is my town, and I do not want a gunfight in my streets. Innocent people could get hurt. Cole understood the concern. I plan to leave before dawn. Quietly. No. But if Hartman and his boys show up before you go, I want you to know something. Kellerman's voice dropped lower. I got 2 deputies, both young and inexperienced. This town has maybe 30 men who could hold a gun in a fight, and half of them would run at the first shot. We can't stand against the Hartman gang if they decide to shoot up the place. You want me to hand over my prisoner? No. Kellerman's eyes were hard now. I want you to understand that if shooting starts, you are on your own. I have got to protect my town first, your prisoner second, and you third. That is just how it is.
Cole respected the honesty.
Fair enough. I am not asking for help. Just a place to rest for the night. They finished their drinks in silence, 2 lawmen who understood the harsh realities of their profession. When Cole returned to the main room, he found the deputy had brought bedrolls. Figured you might want to sleep here, keep an eye on your prisoner, the young man said. Appreciate it. Cole made a bed on the floor near Fletcher's cell and tried to sleep, but his mind would not quiet. Every sound from outside made him tense, waiting for the moment when Luke Hartman decided to make his move. Hours crawled by, marked by the slow progress of the moon across the sky. Sometime after midnight, Copper whinnied from the livery, a sound of alarm that carried clearly in the still night air. Cole was on his feet instantly, rifle in hand. He moved to the window and peered out carefully. 3 shadows moved between buildings, heading toward the marshal's office, the Hartman gang coming for Fletcher. Cole's mind raced through options. He could make a stand here, but Kellerman had made it clear he would not help. He could try to slip out the back with Fletcher, but the shackles and the rented horse would slow them down, or he could end this now, on his terms. Cole made his decision. He grabbed Fletcher and hauled him out of the cell. Move. Back door. Quiet. What is happening? Fletcher whispered, terror in his voice. Hartman is here. We are leaving. They slipped out the back door into an alley. Cole could hear voices from the front of the building, Hartman calling for him to surrender Fletcher. He ignored it and moved quickly toward the livery, keeping to shadows. The old stable owner was waiting, with both horses already saddled. Heard them coming, he whispered. Figured you would need a fast exit. You are a lifesaver, Cole said sincerely. He threw Fletcher onto the rented horse and mounted Copper. Then they were moving, riding hard toward the eastern end of town. Behind them, shouts erupted as Hartman realized his quarry was escaping. Gunfire split the night. Bullets whined off rocks and thudded into wooden buildings. Cole bent low over Copper's neck, urging the horse faster. Fletcher screamed in terror but managed to stay in the saddle. They burst out of Red Canyon at a full gallop, hooves thundering on hard-packed earth. More shots followed them, but the darkness and distance made accuracy impossible. Cole did not return fire, just focused on putting miles between them and their pursuers. They rode for an hour before Cole finally slowed the horses to a sustainable pace. Fletcher was crying great heaving sobs of fear and exhaustion. Cole felt no sympathy. The man had brought this on himself. Are they still following us? Fletcher managed to ask between sobs. Cole looked back. The horizon showed nothing, but he knew better than to assume safety. They will come. Hartman is not the type to give up. Then just let me go. Leave me here and ride away. I will take my chances. No, why not? Fletcher's voice rose to a wail. Why do you care so much? I am nothing. Just let me go. Cole pulled Copper to a stop and turned to face Fletcher fully. The moonlight illuminated his face, showing an expression of absolute determination. Because I swore an oath, Cole said simply. When I pinned on this badge, I promised to uphold the law, to bring criminals to justice, and to never, ever quit. You might be nothing to yourself, Fletcher, but to me, you represent something important. You represent the difference between civilization and chaos. If I let you go, if I break my word, then I am no better than the men I hunt. Fletcher stared at him, uncomprehending. You are going to get us both killed for an oath? If that is what it takes. Cole turned Copper back east and started riding again. Now shut up and ride. We have got a long way to go. Behind them, somewhere in the darkness, Luke Hartman and his cousins were coming. Ahead lay Redemption Creek, justice, and the end of this brutal journey. Cole Brennan rode between them, a lone lawman carrying the weight of the law across a lawless land. The badge on his chest had never felt heavier, or more important. The final leg of the journey stretched ahead like a trial by fire. Cole and Fletcher had been riding for 4 days since leaving Red Canyon, pushing hard through desert, rocky badlands, and finally into the grasslands that marked the approach to Redemption Creek. The horses were exhausted, their coats white with dried sweat and dust. Fletcher looked like a corpse, barely conscious in his saddle, kept upright only by the rope tying him to the saddle horn. Cole was not much better. His eyes burned from lack of sleep, his body ached from endless hours mounted, and his mind felt foggy with fatigue. But Redemption Creek was close now, maybe 6 hours if they maintained their current pace. He could almost taste the end of this nightmare journey. The attack came without warning. One moment they were riding through tall grass, the next moment gunfire erupted from a stand of cottonwood trees to their right. Cole reacted on pure instinct, throwing himself from Copper's back and rolling behind a small rise in the ground. Fletcher screamed and fell sideways, the rope preventing him from hitting the ground, but leaving him dangling helplessly from his saddle. Bullets tore through the grass around them. Cole counted the shots. 4 shooters, maybe 5. More than he expected. Hartman must have picked up reinforcements somewhere along the trail. Copper galloped away, spooked by the gunfire. The rented horse carrying Fletcher reared and bucked, trying to throw its awkward burden. Fletcher's screams were high-pitched and continuous. Pure animal terror. Cole fired back with his Winchester, aiming at muzzle flashes in the trees. He heard a cry of pain, so at least one shot connected. But he was pinned down, exposed in open ground with minimal cover. This was a killing field, and Hartman had chosen it well. "Give up the prisoner, Brennan!" Hartman's voice boomed across the grassland. "We just want Fletcher." "You can ride away." Cole did not waste breath answering. He fired 3 more shots, forcing the attackers to keep their heads down. His mind raced through options. He could not stay here. The small rise provided only temporary protection, and they would flank him within minutes. The rented horse finally managed to throw Fletcher, who hit the ground hard with a grunt of pain. The animal galloped away, following Copper. Now Fletcher lay in the open, completely exposed and helpless with his shackled hands. Cole made his choice. He left his cover in a running crouch, grabbed Fletcher by his collar, and dragged him behind a larger rock formation about 20 yards away. Bullets chewed up the ground around them, so close Cole felt the heat of one pass his ear. They reached the rocks, and Cole shoved Fletcher down hard. "Stay low and don't move. They are going to kill us," Fletcher whimpered. "We are both going to die. Maybe, but not without a fight." Cole checked his ammunition. Half a box of rifle cartridges, 6 rounds in his Colt revolver, and a knife in his boot. Not ideal for a sustained gunfight, but it would have to do. The attackers were spreading out, trying to surround his position. Cole could see movement in the grass as they advanced. He counted heads, 5 men all armed with rifles. Bad odds, but he had faced worse. He fired at the nearest man, saw him jerk and fall. 4 left, but now they were returning fire in earnest, bullets ricocheting off the rocks and filling the air with stone fragments. Cole ducked back, breathing hard. This could not last. He was outnumbered and would run out of ammunition long before they did. He needed an advantage, something to shift the balance. His eyes swept the terrain, looking for options. A dry creek bed ran about 30 yards to his left, offering concealment and a route to flank the attackers. But getting there meant crossing open ground under fire. Suicide odds, unless he had a distraction. Cole looked at Fletcher, an idea forming. The man stared back with terrified eyes, reading something in Cole's expression. "No," Fletcher said. "Whatever you are thinking, no. You want to live?" Cole asked bluntly. "Yes." "Then you are going to help me. When I say run, you get up and you run toward that creek bed. Fast as you can." "They will shoot me, maybe. But they will definitely shoot both of us if we stay here." "This is our only chance." Fletcher looked like he might vomit, but he nodded shakily. Cole took a deep breath, counted to 3 in his head, then shouted, "Run!" Fletcher burst from cover, running awkwardly with his shackled hands. Immediately, all 5 remaining attackers shifted their fire toward him. Cole used the moment to sprint in the opposite direction, reaching the creek bed and dropping into it as bullets whipped overhead. He ran along the creek bed, using its depth for cover, circling toward where the attackers were positioned. Behind him, he heard Fletcher still screaming, still running. Good. The longer he stayed on his feet, the longer the distraction lasted. Cole came up behind a man crouched in the grass, completely focused on shooting at Fletcher. Cole's knife took him in the kidney. A quick thrust and twist. The man gasped and fell without making much noise. 3 left. The second man turned at the sound of his companion falling and found himself staring down the barrel of Cole's Colt revolver. "Don't," Cole said quietly. The man's eyes went wide. His hand moved toward his rifle anyway. Cole fired, the shot taking him in the chest at point-blank range. 2 left. Now the remaining attackers knew where Cole was. They turned their attention from Fletcher to this new threat. Cole dropped back into the creek bed as bullets searched for him. He ran again, putting distance between himself and where they last saw him. Luke Hartman's voice rang out, angry now. "Brennan! You are just making this harder on yourself." He was hunting now, using every trick he had learned in 15 years of law work. Move quiet, strike fast, show no mercy to men who would show him none. He found the third man trying to flank his previous position. Cole's Winchester barked once, and the man went down with a hole in his shoulder. Not dead, but out of the fight. 1 left, plus Hartman himself. The gunfire had stopped. An eerie silence settled over the grassland, broken only by the sound of wind moving through tall grass and the injured man groaning. Cole crept forward, every sense alert. A voice from behind him said, "Drop it!" Cole froze. The last gunman had circled around and gotten behind him. Amateur mistake, letting himself be outmaneuvered. He started to lower his rifle. A gunshot cracked, and the man behind Cole grunted in surprise. Cole spun to see the gunman falling, blood spreading across his chest. And standing 20 feet away, holding a smoking revolver in shackled hands, was Danny Fletcher. The drifter's face was pale and shocked, like he could not believe what he had just done. The gun trembled in his grip. Cole realized it must have belonged to one of the dead men, picked up during Fletcher's mad run. I shot him," Fletcher said numbly. "You did," Cole confirmed. Saved my life. Before either man could say more, Luke Hartman appeared from the tree line, rifle raised. His face was twisted with rage and grief at seeing his cousins and hired men dead or dying. You killed them all, Hartman snarled. Every last one. They made their choice, Cole replied, raising his own rifle. Same choice you are making now. Walk away, Hartman. This is over. Over? Over! Hartman's laugh was bitter and broken. My whole family is dead because of you. Because of that yellow coward who betrayed them. No, this is not over. Not until you are both dead, time slowed. Cole saw Hartman's finger tightening on the trigger. He knew his own rifle was aimed true. 2 men, both committed to killing each other, both knowing only one would walk away. The shot rang out. Hartman jerked, his rifle firing wide. He looked down at his chest, where blood was spreading from a neat hole just left of center. Then he looked up, not at Cole, but at Fletcher. The drifter still held the revolver, smoke curling from its barrel. His face showed no emotion now, just a kind of numb acceptance.
You?
Hartman whispered.
You killed me?
I am tired of running, Fletcher said quietly. Tired of being afraid. You wanted me dead for being a coward. Well, I just stopped being one. Hartman tried to raise his rifle for one last shot, but his strength failed. He fell to his knees, then forward onto his face. The grass around him darkened with spreading blood. Silence returned to the grassland. Cole and Fletcher stood among the dead and dying, 2 survivors of a battle that should have killed them both. Cole slowly lowered his rifle and approached Fletcher. Give me the gun, Cole said gently. Fletcher looked at the weapon like he had forgotten he was holding it. He handed it over without protest. His hands were shaking violently now, reaction setting in. I killed 2 men, Fletcher said. I never killed anyone before. You saved both our lives. That counts for something. Cole retrieved his handcuff key and removed Fletcher's shackles. The man's wrists were raw and bleeding from days of wearing the iron cuffs. Are you letting me go? Fletcher asked, confused. No. But you earned the right to ride without chains. Cole started gathering the horses, which had stopped running and were grazing nearby. When we get to Redemption Creek, I will tell the judge what you did here. Might make a difference at your trial. I am still going to hang, aren't I? Cole did not answer immediately. He helped Fletcher mount, then climbed onto Copper. The horse was tired but willing, ready to finish this last leg of the journey. I don't know, Cole finally said. That is up to the jury. But you showed courage today, Fletcher. Whatever happens, you can face it knowing you did the right thing at the end. They rode east, leaving behind the carnage of the gunfight. The wounded man would either survive, or he would not. Cole had bandaged him as best he could, but that was all the mercy he could spare. Harsh, maybe, but this was harsh country. As the sun began to set, the buildings of Redemption Creek appeared on the horizon. Cole felt a surge of emotion that surprised him. Relief, certainly, but also pride. He had completed his mission. Against all odds, through desert and danger and desperate gunfights, he had brought his prisoner home to face justice. The town came out to meet them as they rode down Main Street. Cole saw familiar faces, Doc Murphy and Jack Porter and Mayor Douglas, and there, standing on crutches but standing nonetheless, was Pete Harrison. The young deputy's face lit up when he saw his sheriff. You made it back, Pete called out. We were starting to worry. Nothing to worry about, Cole replied, though his exhaustion made the words feel hollow. Just a long ride. Linda Hayes stood next to Pete, her hand on his arm. She smiled at Cole with genuine warmth. The townspeople gathered around, asking questions, wanting to know what happened. Cole dismounted and helped Fletcher down, then turned to address the crowd. This man, Danny Fletcher, is charged with being an accessory to the bank robbery and murder. He will be held for trial. Cole paused, looking at Fletcher. But I want it on record that he saved my life twice during the journey back. That should be considered when judgment is passed. Murmurs ran through the crowd. Fletcher kept his head down, ashamed and afraid, but also showing a dignity that had not been there before. Doc Murphy stepped forward and took a long look at both men. You both look like death warmed over. Get to my office and let me check you for injuries. Cole shook his head. Fletcher first. I need to file my report and get him locked up proper. He walked Fletcher to the jail, the same building where this whole journey began over a week ago. The cell door clanged shut, and Fletcher sat on the bunk with his head in his hands. Thank you, Sheriff, Fletcher said quietly, for giving me a chance to do something right. Cole nodded and locked the cell. Then he walked to his small house, stripped off his filthy clothes, and washed the trail dust and dried blood from his skin. When he looked in the mirror, he barely recognized himself. Hollow-eyed, drawn, aged beyond his years, but the badge still hung on his chest, tarnished but unbroken, a symbol of everything he believed in, everything he had fought to protect. That night, Cole slept for 14 hours straight. When he woke, the town was going about its business as usual. The bank had reopened, Pete was recovering nicely, and life continued despite the violence that had marked the past weeks. Fletcher's trial was held 2 weeks later. The jury heard all the evidence, including Cole's testimony about how the prisoner had saved his life. They deliberated for 3 hours before returning with a verdict, guilty of accessory to murder. But instead of hanging, they sentenced Fletcher to 20 years of hard labor. The judge said it was because of the courage shown during the journey home, the chance at redemption that every man deserved. Cole watched as they took Fletcher away to begin his sentence. The man looked back once and their eyes met. A nod passed between them, acknowledgement of what they had survived together. Mayor Douglas approached Cole after the trial. "That was a remarkable thing you did, Sheriff, bringing him back alive through all that danger." "Just doing my job," Cole replied. "Still, the town appreciates it. We all do." Cole accepted the thanks but felt no pride. He had done what needed to be done, nothing more and nothing less. That was the burden and the honor of the badge he wore. Pete Harrison returned to full duty a month later. The bullet wound healed to a scar he would carry the rest of his life. He proposed to Linda Hayes at the 4th of July celebration, and she said yes with tears of joy. They would marry in the fall, start a family, build a life. Cole stood at the edge of the celebration, watching young couples dance and children run and people laugh. This was what he fought for. These moments of peace and happiness, however fleeting they might be. The Wild West was changing. Railroads were spreading, civilization creeping into the wild places. Someday soon, sheriffs like Cole Brennan would be relics of a bygone era. But for now, for today, the badge still mattered, justice still mattered. Cole touched the star on his chest, feeling its familiar weight. Then he walked back toward his office, ready for whatever came next. Because that was what lawmen did. They kept going, kept fighting, kept upholding the oath they swore, from iron determination to honorable end. The sun set over Redemption Creek, painting the sky in shades of orange and gold, and Sheriff Cole Brennan stood ready, as he always had, as he always would, to meet whatever challenges tomorrow might bring.